Today, we're diving deep into Li Auto's turbulent 2025 financial results. And it's a really compelling story. It's about a company that hit a major downturn, made some sharp strategic moves, and is now fighting its way back towards growth.
Okay, before we jump in, the usual quick disclaimer. We're breaking all this down for educational purposes, so this isn't financial advice, of course. All the data you're about to see comes straight from Li Auto's official press release.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the tough year Li Auto had and really dig into what went wrong. Then we'll pivot to the good stuff, the signs of a rebound in the fourth quarter. We'll also look at how they're investing for the future, hear from management themselves, and then wrap it all up with the key takeaways for anyone watching this company.
All right, let's get right into it. A quick glance at the headline figures for 2025 really paints a picture of just how challenging the year was for Li Auto. So, the first number that just jumps off the page is this one. Total revenues dropped by over 22% compared to the year before. That really puts the brakes on what had been a story of incredibly rapid growth. And if you think that's rough, look at the bottom line. The impact there was even more severe. Net income, your profit, plummeted by nearly 86%. Wow, that just shows you how much pressure the company's profitability was really under. So you might be asking, what's behind all this pressure? Well, it really all comes down to vehicle deliveries. They delivered almost 100,000 fewer cars than they did in 2024, and this was a direct result of a much tougher market and, let's be honest, absolutely fierce competition, especially with those intense price wars that basically define the Chinese EV space in 2025.
Okay, now let's put these numbers side by side with 2024. This is where you really start to grasp the full scale of this downturn.
This table, right here, puts the whole year into perspective. You can see the revenue and profit drops we just talked about, but look down at that last line, the free cash flow. That, to me, is the real shocker. It went from a positive 8.2 billion RMB in 2024 to a negative 12.8 billion in 2025. That's a massive 21 billion RMB swing. It shows they were really burning through cash to navigate the year.
But, and this is a big but, that full year story doesn't tell you everything. As 2025 came to a close, there were some really clear signs of a turnaround. The fourth quarter results suggest a strategic shift was actually starting to pay off.
And this chart illustrates that pivot perfectly. In the third quarter, Li Auto was in the red, with a net loss of over 624 million RMB. But by the fourth quarter, they had flipped it around to a positive net income. Now, it's a small profit for sure, but the direction of travel, that is what's absolutely crucial here.
And if we zoom in on the numbers from Q3 to Q4, you can see that positive momentum building. Total revenues went up. More importantly, check out the margins. Gross margin improved, and the operating margin went from negative 4.3% to negative 1.5%. This tells us their efforts to get costs under control and improve efficiency were actually starting to work.
So here's the really interesting part. While the company was managing this tough financial period, they didn't just stop investing. Nope, they were actively laying the groundwork for their next phase of growth.
A huge piece of that future-proofing is building out their own infrastructure. By the end of 2025, they had nearly 4,000 of their own supercharging stations up and running in China. That is a massive investment, and it's a critical piece of the puzzle for tackling range anxiety and convincing more customers to make the jump to EVs.
They also expanded their physical sales and service network. They ended the year with 548 retail stores. This deepens their reach into more cities, which is all about building brand trust and just getting in front of more potential buyers in what's become a very, very crowded market.
And their focus wasn't purely domestic. In the fourth quarter, Li Auto took its first real steps onto the global stage, launching in Egypt, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan. This signals the beginning of what could be a much bigger international expansion plan. So how does management talk about all this? Let's take a look at what Li Auto's leadership had to say about this really pivotal year.
The CEO, Mr. Shangli, directly addressed that Q4 recovery. He called it the result of proactive strategic adjustments. He's making it crystal clear that this turnaround wasn't an accident. And then he points straight to 2026 as the start of a major new product cycle, which is a big hint about what's going to drive future growth. The CFO, Mr. Tai Li, backs this up by explaining exactly how they did it. He points to disciplined cost management and operational strength as the key reasons for those improved margins in Q4. Basically, they tightened their belts to weather the storm.
And they definitely had the firepower to execute their plans. Li Auto finished the year with a massive cash position over 101 billion RMB.
This isn't just a safety net, folks. It's a war chest. It gives them the fuel for R&D, for new product launches, and for that global expansion they just kicked off.
Okay, so we've looked at the whole story. The good, the bad, and the rebound. What are the key things an investor should really take away from Li Auto's 2025 performance?
To sum it all up, 2025 was really a tale of two halves for Li Auto. The first part of the year was defined by a pretty significant downturn. But that final quarter, it marked a clear rebound, and it was driven by deliberate, strategic shifts. And through it all, they kept their eyes on the prize, investing in their future, all backed by that really impressive war chest of cash.
And that leaves us with the billion-dollar question, doesn't it? They've stabilized the ship and they've charted a new course. The question now, for investors in the entire industry, is whether this fourth quarter rebound is a true turning point that marks the start of a brand new sustainable chapter of growth for Li Auto.
If you found this breakdown useful, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the topics that are shaping our world. Thanks for watching.